Senator Cornyn.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. If you don't mind, I'd like to give you a homework assignment. So back in 1823, the Monroe Doctrine was announced the official policy of the United States government with regard to the Western Hemisphere and the activities of other countries in the region. Obviously, that's evolved over many, many years, but I would like for you to tell us what do you think, instead of the Monroe Doctrine, what the Trump Doctrine should be for the Western Hemisphere. And maybe with the students here, maybe they can come up with some ideas as well. That would be, I think, a useful exercise. So BlackRock just purchased 2 ports in and around Panama from a Hong Kong company, which obviously is a front for the Chinese government and their activities in the area. I think you alluded to this a little bit, Dr. Ledford, but how can we access the capital markets? How can Congress encourage U.S. capital markets, which are a tremendous source of strength for the country? We don't have a lot of money to spend because we are looking at $36 trillion plus in debt. But if we can access our capital markets to encourage purchasing of facilities in Central and South America by the United States or our friends, seems to me that would be a good idea. And maybe Senator McCormick, having come from maybe a little bit of that background, has some ideas as well. But if you could tell us what can we do to encourage more of that?
Thank you, Senator. It's an excellent question. I think Congress has developed some workable ideas. The conceptual framework behind the Americas Act, I think there's much Congress could do to incentivize a program through the Commerce Department to work on catalyzing the private capital to purchase the facilities that we're discussing. And I certainly would encourage all of you to look at that.
One of the things that on our trip that Senator Shaheen mentioned a couple of years ago that we heard from Southern Command, General Laura Richardson at the time, was that the absence of U.S. ambassadors in the region was a big problem because there wasn't somebody that leaders of these countries could talk to, knowing that they were a representative of the United States president. And how important, maybe I'll start with you, Dr. Myers, how important is it for us to have representation there in these countries of the President of the United States in the form of a U.S. ambassador?
Thank you very much. No, it's absolutely of paramount importance, both symbolically, as we aim to demonstrate our commitment to engagement with these countries, with our partners in the region, but also operationally, as you've noted. If there's nobody to talk to, if there's nobody to express concerns to, if there's nobody to negotiate with, then these countries are at a loss, and our partnerships and our bilateral relations suffer. So critically important to get people in place. And if we do not, then this provides an opportunity for others to step into the fold, and to do so during those periods where truly our leadership is absent.
Yeah, it seems like if the Chinese and the Russians have high-level representatives there in the region and we don't, that sounds like a sort of a self-inflicted wound. I still remember when General Kelly was head of Southern Command years ago, talk about the counter-drug issue. And of course, a lot of the drugs don't just start in Mexico. They end up there and then are brought in the United States. And obviously, Colombia's role in the cocaine trade is well known. But I still remember General Kelly, when he was head of Southern Command, said as a result of the lack of assets for the United States military and the counter-drug mission, that they only were able to interdict about 17%, I think is the number that sticks in my mind, of the drugs that make their way from South America through Central America through Mexico into the United States. And of course, I think it's entirely appropriate that Senator Shaheen has these maps from the Armed Services Committee. Obviously, the American military has to cover a lot of territory, but how important is it for the United States government in the form of the U.S. Military Southern Command to provide assets there to interdict the drugs that make their way from South America, Central America, and Mexico and into the United States?
Thank you, Senator. That's an excellent point. I think it's incredibly important and vital that the Defense Department work with our partner countries in Latin America to interdict drugs. And I encourage a deployment of all available assets, sharing intelligence, giving capabilities. Many of these efforts need to be host country led, and we've seen the most successful ones led by the countries themselves, but the United States should be there to provide guidance and the capabilities and the intelligence to do so, and if the assets if necessary.
Thank